Hi everyone and welcome to Veterans in Crisis podcast. Today we have Steve Bob Hope, who is the most famous veteran in Sunderland. You alright, Bob?
I am, mate, I am.
Thanks for coming on. I know
No
you're a little
bother.
bit nervous using technology like Zoom, so I'll try and keep it as easy as possible for you. All you do is look
Okay,
look
mate,
at the
thank
camera
you.
and talk. Don't look at the sky,
Right,
look at the camera. All right?
right, mate.
You can see your face, so you'll be all right.
That's what I didn't want to look at.
Yeah, so that's same for me, mate. I've had to blank the screen. I've only got audio on. Hey, mate, thanks very much, like I said, for coming on.
Yeah.
I wasn't joking when I said you're the most famous veteran in Sunderland. God knows how many millions you've raised for the British Legion.
Yeah.
People will see you in all supermarkets, all your medals on, collecting. You do loads of stuff for Vicks. You're always in the paper. You're quite famous in the veteran sort of community. Everyone knows you. But what I asked you to come on for, because you've been bad and you did like a little piece
Well,
a little piece in the
seriously ill, Joe.
yes, seriously, you'll ask say bad, mate. You're still here. You know what I mean? Was it,
6 weeks in hospital, I was bad.
yeah, so you had man flu. Man flu.
No, what had happened on a Sunday morning, 10th of January, I got up, normal, I felt okay, start coughing. Real bad cough, Jared. I thought I was choking. I couldn't stop it. And my wife, who works on the wards, said, I'm going to phone an ambulance. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I went, phone an ambulance for the bad cough. She said, I'm looking at you. I'm going to phone an ambulance. So the ambulance came and I went, hey, mate, you should be looking at people that are really poorly, and they checked us out. He went, mate, you're really poorly. He said, so right, we're taking you in the ambulance, getting you to hospital. Red lighted us. So gets to hospital. And I don't know what happens in hospital, but I'm aware I was in the ambulance and that year. But once I got in hospital, obviously they're putting things into your drugs and things like that. So I didn't even know what was wrong with us. I cannot remember anybody telling us what was wrong. But I ended up on a ward, right? And I remember talking to this guy next to us, and he's saying, what's wrong with you? I went, go clue. Now I know, when I was first got took in, I got took in with pneumonia. So I've got this pneumonia, then all of a sudden, that I know now, I caught COVID while I was in the hospital. And then things started to go away. I couldn't. I remember that night, I went to sleep in this ward, wherever I was, right, in Sunderland Hospital. And the next day, I woke up and I was on a different ward. I can't remember much of the day, but I think on my last podcast, I told you about the ducks I seen when I was in Freeman's Hospital. These are
tell people that one if you want after.
Right, 10 years previous, I was in hospital fighting for my life, and well, I actually died for a couple of minutes. Obviously, brought us round, and in my unconsciousness, Freeman's Hospital was getting surrounded by ducks with three-piece suits on, bowler hats, machine guns, and I thought it was, in my subconsciousness, I thought it was real. So apparently the nurses were telling us, I pulled the catheters out, I pulled all the wires out, I had my little mini skirt on, you know, the gown you wear in the hospital, and I'm running about with my little 2-inch willy floating all over, Jordan, blood pouring from a shouting, the ducks are surrounding the hospital. Get out, the ducks. So what I know now, they ended up sedating us, and that was 10, 12 years ago in Freeman's. But this one, I didn't know this one till a friend of mine called Darren told us later. So this is what happened. I'm on this ward. Apparently, I phone him up. He answers the phone. He said, you sound clear as out, Steve. You're not talking away. Then all of a sudden you said, I'll be out soon, mate. I'll be out soon. He went, where are you? I went, I'm in hospital. I says, but I'll be out soon. How's that, Steve? What's wrong with you? I went, the helicopter's just landed. He went, the helicopter. Now, I can't remember any of this, but he tells us, but I can remember somewhere about the helicopter. So I says, the helicopter's there. Hold on, there's a big, do you know, like them fire engines with the hoses? There's one of them coming out the side of it. It's come through my side window. Darren, it's painting. So I thought this helicopter had landed, this pipe had come through and painted my room and dashed off. And he said, you were so serious, it's unreal. But obviously it was all the drugs and everything, Chad. And
I think you want to stay off the drugs, like.
I know. I've been on that many for 14 years. So through the day, I flake out again. And the next morning I wake up on another ward. Every morning for the first 3 or 4 days, I woke up and I was on a different ward. Obviously, the people at the hospital know what they were doing it for, but I wasn't aware of it. Anyway, cut a long story short, I finished up on ward E51 in the Sunderland Royal Hospital. And I tell you what, it was horrendous. It was the COVID ward. I was on oxygen mask. I had oxygen masks on for 12 to 14 days. I was all wired up. I honestly thought at one time I was fading away and I could have just, I could have just switched off then and I was gone. But I decided I could just manage to text the family and that, and I wanted a photograph. Got 12 grandchildren. And I got a photograph of every one of the grandparents onto the phone. And I kept looking, I could feel myself, and I was looking at my grandparents' photos. And for some way it gave us strength and guided us through. I was just picturing each one of the kids and what I do with them in my mind. And I could feel I was fighting against it. Then I realized the nurses who were looking after us, I mean, they were under pressure. I seen every nurse on that ward, every doctor cry. They were arguing amongst each other. The stress level was unbelievable. There was people dying left, right, and center. And I got told I knew I had the pneumonia and I knew I had the COVID. But then they said that they found a heart murmur, which shocked us because if you remember us on the podcast before, 12 years ago, I had an aortic aneurysm. That's the main artery. So the main artery was repaired. That's all you could do with it, repair it. So now I've got this heart disease, pneumonia, pleurisy. My aorta is swelling up. So I'm battling against the odds there. And at the same time, I mean, my son, bless him, well, all of them, were putting the TV on for us. Just a little example, Chair. And the TV broke down. We phoned the engineer. He refused to come on the ward. He went, I'm not coming on that ward. As I was getting stronger, there was people coming in, dying, and it was like a conveyor belt of bodies. One morning, the nurse brought me breakfast to the bed, and the bed on the right of us had the curtain round, and the bed on the left of us had the curtain round. And I just thought the doctors were insane, but after an hour, I said to one of the doctors, the doctors have been in there a long time. They went, Steve, they're both dead. And they were there for about 8 to 10 hours. The porters were that under pressure. There was that many bodies, Joe. And as you know yourself, I was in the army and saying horrendous things, but this was unbelievable. You had to keep saying, you had to try to keep yourself right, as well as watching people opposite you and beside you just fade away. Oh, God, yeah.
It's remarkable, isn't it, that people have actually been said that the COVID's made up. COVID's just whatever they say, the government or whatever, but I've volunteered for the COVID ward at Horton, and you see horrible things, don't you?
They're hallucinating, or they're flinging themselves off the bed, falling over. The nurses were constantly, I mean, the nurses are definitely under strength. Somebody's got to do something, because I think, I'm not know how true this is, but a couple of the nurses were saying there's supposed to be 2 nurses to each beer, 6 people in a beer, and sometimes you had 1 running 2 beers. The pressure they were under, the 13-hour shifts and everything.
But, remarkable people, aren't they?
Oh, unbelievable. But I think the closest I could see it to people watching this, we were like lepers on there. Nobody would come on. Only obviously the people who were putting their lives in danger, the nurses and the doctors, porters, especially porters. But I was talking to a guy opposite us, right? And by this time I could get out of bed, carry my oxygen bottle, wired up, and try to get a shower chair. It's absolutely crazy. And I'll just say his name was John, and I got on really well with him. The night before, it's just a human story, this. But it ended up fatal. I got on really well with him. He was 75 and he looked younger than me, but I know you're going to say something about that.
You're too quick now, aren't you? You're too quick.
And I got on really well with him, and I went, John, you fancy going night clubbing today? Trying to keep us gone, the spirit's gone. He went, stay by, we're going night clubbing. Well, we fell asleep that night. The next morning, I woke up and he's in bed, and the nurse went, hey, John, are you getting up for your breakfast? I've got hangover. What you got hangover of? I went night clubbing with him last night. And honestly, he really thought, bless him, that he'd been night clubbing with us. He wouldn't get out of bed all day. He said, no, I've got hangover. And I mean, unfortunately, I'm getting back to the shower thing. I was going for a shower, and I said, I'll see you in a minute, John. I'm just going for a shower. Come back, and he's just lying with his mouth open. And I said to the nurse, he's dead, carried out. You knew as well, because even if somebody died on the next beer, they come round to shut all your curtains. They shut your curtain round your bed, and they shut the curtains on the windows, and you just know, and they're crying. And I can still hear the crying of the nurses now, and put under severe pressure. And
it's a horrendous thing that you've been through. Have you got any symptoms still? Like, because I've heard people, it's called long COVID, where you can't smell and
yeah.
Have you got out like that?
Well, right, I mean, as we know, millions of people or thousands of people are dying of COVID. I'm one of the lucky ones. If I never got COVID, they wouldn't have detected I had heart problems, which I had heart disease, and one of the valves is leaking. If I hadn't got COVID, mate, that's what it said in Ecuador as well. The doctor said I could have been dead in 9 months. So, and it's sad to say, but COVID saved my life.
Oh. It's an horrendous experience you've been through, though, isn't it?
Oh, I thought I'd been through the work. When I was in Freeman's, if you remember, Joe, I was in Freeman's 6 months, and I thought that was bad. I've seen a lot of bad things, but I honestly say, in my lifetime, I've never seen anything like this. Never experienced it. I did. If you told me this is what you're going to experience in hospital, I would have said, nah, you're lying. I'm not going to experience that like that.
You've been around since the Roman times and all, haven't you?
Pardon?
You've been around since the Romans.
I think so. I seem to have a memory. One of my dreams was I was a Roman.
A straight Roman, that's all you can see.
Roman all over the hospitals in the northeast.
Pulling your things out.
But my brother phoned us up, and he said, how are you? And I went, It's like being in a boxing ring. I'm boxing pneumonia. I'm beating that. Then COVID's coming. I'm beating that. Then I've got a heart disease. I'm beating that. Then the heart's leaking, and I was just fighting everything at the same time, seeing people around it. I mean, I remember a young kid, 28-year-old, Lewis, his name, and he'd just come out in intensive care, and he was in the next bed with us. I mean, I had about 20 neighbours in the time I was there, people dying and people going to bed. And the first thing I said to them, you must keep that strong. You must, whatever drug they're getting put in you, keep aware what's happening. Because I seen it, 38-year-old, 40, they were just letting themselves go. They couldn't have. But I suppose some people took it worse than others. Some it was more painful for others, you know. And a lot of them had underlying issues at the same time as well, Chair. So,
how are you feeling at the minute?
I've come up that flight of stairs, and luckily with years carrying us up now.
To be honest, that's what we were worried about, getting on the flight of stairs. But man, you weren't that much out of breath. You were a little bit out of breath.
I'm out of breath, and I've got to take it easy because now I'm waiting for Freeman's to phone because I've got to have heart surgery. No, the first thing I worried about is what you said at the beginning of this broadcast is, hey, I hope I'm fit enough to raise money for the Legion and for the Vics, and, you know, I do the things that we've done all the time because it's frightening, Joe, because I'm a worrier anyway. And every day I'm worrying, is there something going to happen? But I can't sit down in the chair and just sit there and let things happen. I've got to try to move on, you know.
I think you the way you've managed and sort of fought it head on, that's obviously what saved you, isn't it? You know. I mean, how old are you, Steve, if you don't mind asking?
I'm 64 this month, Joe. I know I look older before
you said you look a lot younger, mate. You look a lot younger than 64. I would have said 63.
Well, 63 at the minute, it's 64 to 24.
I say I was right then. I was right.
whenever you're wrong, Joe, you're never wrong.
Yeah.
You're never wrong.
So, hey, mate, we'll talk a little bit about your time in the army for anybody who hasn't seen your podcast, what we did in the studio, which was probably must be 2 years ago now. I forget about the year of COVID, like, you know, that because nothing happened, did it? You know, like nothing. You know, it's a bit weird. So,
what
your best time when you were in the army?
The best time is obviously meeting all the lads who are still friends now. 40 years on, I'm still in touch constantly. Probably 2 days ago, a lad called Alan phoned us, who I served with 40 odd years ago. Absolutely brilliant. I'll never forget them. I mean, memories galore. But I think, like I said in the last podcast, you know, the worst time in the army. I said quite a few things, but was in Hong Kong, Chad. Do you want us to let the viewers know that?
Yeah.
Well, I was in Hong Kong on an island, and our job there was to stop the illegal immigrants coming in. It's ironic now because China's got Hong Kong, but we had to stop the Chinese coming across the border, and we were on a little island. And I'll tell you the story first. In the same category, we went to the first night there. A man called Sergeant Granger. He's gone now, like, but bless him, typical odd-nailed sergeant. He said, right, there's a restaurant on the island, we'll go there. So we went down, we were having meat and chips, whatever it was, and we were thinking. So the next morning, Sergeant Granger went, Bob, you take this patrol, and as you know, Jerry, you're going through the procedure, what you've got to do and everything like that. But we're more like cowboys than soldiers. We had shorts on, flip-flops, bandanas, but we had our rifles, and we had to patrol the island, you know, to stop the illegal immigrants coming in. And we're walking at the back of this restaurant, and this is sort of, it's unreal. I feel sick now when I'm going to tell you. there was ulceration hanging on the washing line, right? There was a Chinese lass squatting, chopping an ulceration up. And there was another one dead on the washing line. So no doubt the night before we'd had ulceration and chips on. Absolutely, that was horrendous. Carrying on the same day, we were patrolling along the beach, and a lad called Eggy from who was in the patrol. He went, Bob, there was a flotation bobbing up and down in the sea. All the Chinese were on the beach, and it was a Sunday, and they were all sunbathing and whatever, you know. So Eggy says, "It's floating." Straight away, I'm in charge of the patrol. So really, I've got to go out and check it out. Thinking I'm a good swimmer, can I just have a drink?
Well, of course you can, mate. Huh?
So
you didn't have to be a good swimmer to have a drink, you know.
No. No. I thought it was a good swimming. It didn't look too far out. The waves are just small, you know, coming in. So I'm swimming out. By the time I got there, I was shattered. So I'm pulling on this flotation thing, like a rubber thing, you know, a square, looked like a pillar. And I'm pulling it, and you could tell it was attached to something. So I'm gone, like all the lads on this, and they're gone. Gone under. So I went under there, and I'm horrendous. I came face to face underwater with a dead body. And at that time, the Olympic swimming champion was Dave Wilkie. I tell you what, I would have beat him that year. I would have beat him. I flew. I was as weak as a kid when I got there. I was fit as hell. I just swam back to the beach. And I've gone to the lads, these, but then I've got this, I'm thinking, all the Chinese are looking now. I've got to like get sorted out. So we go, 6 of us or something, swim out, and we bring in the body in. The hand underwater's touching me foot, man. Oh, horrible feeling. So we get, which I know, the kid was, he looked a lot older, but he was 15. He'd been walking across the mountains and swimming for 14 days to get across the border into Hong Kong to better his life. So anyway, we get some on the beach. I had to go through the procedure of the pulse and everything, because all the Chinese were coming around now. So I get the body on a stretcher, blanket over, and on the island we was stopping to, there was 1,000 or 500 or 1,000 steps uphill, and it was red hot. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, red hot in June in Hong Kong. It was sweltering. So we get in this body, we carry it all the way up to the hut we were all sleeping in, and Sergeant Granger was there. And Sergeant Granger was, got a body here? He says, I didn't want it. I went, well, what's I supposed to do with the body? He says, there's a village police station taking to that. So we came all the way down the stairs, right? And we were not by now. Through the village, you know, that them shutters on the window. They could tell there was a body. Everybody was shutting the shutters on the window. We're walking through. And in them days, the Chinese police, if they could speak English, they had a red epaulet on the shoulder. So we get to the village police station, knocks on the door. And the only words he could say was, we not want. We not want. I'm saying, what's I going to do with this body? You know what I mean? All right, we're going back with tell Sergeant Granger.
You froze, Bob.
And kicks the door open, slides the body along the floor, and it's yours. We spent 6 months in court through that. They weren't accusing us of doing anything with it, but there was a lot of paperwork to do in that. So I decided then, it was a horrendous time, right? We had 3 days off in Hong Kong. So we had 7 weeks of money where we had no money for 7 weeks, no drink or outlay. So I decided to go absent, me and my friend, in Hong Kong. So we bought a 3-piece pinstripe suit, a bowler hat, a briefcase, umbrella, and we thought we were the boys, you know what I mean? Goes into the top hotel, eats caviar. I can't tell you what it is or what it looks like, but it sounded good, you know. And me and the lad drinking all the time, just ordering champagne and everything. Anyway, 5 o'clock in the morning, the door gets kicked open. I'm lying in the bath with no water, right? Naked, with a bottle in my hand. This other lad's in bed without on, with a bottle in his hand. And I've got a gun to my head, the Chinese police. They're going, you under arrest, you under arrest. Luckily, there was MP with him. He walked in, he went, oh, no, these two. Yeah. We get outside here, there's 5,000 people there. You'd think we'd murdered somebody or something, but we had 3 days off. But we get in front of the commanding officer. He said, I've just got the thing for you. You know, you're all in front of us, always getting wrong. 28 days, Mr. O, Stonecutters Island. I went, Stonecutters Island? It was like Alcatraz at the time, shark-infested waters and that. But little did I know, they were pulling it down and they were using us to pull it down. I actually thought I was going to Stonecutters Island. Well,
you've had a full, exciting life, haven't you?
Well, look, now I hope I've got to get
out. I hope you finish the end of this fucking podcast.
Well, my chest's burning a bit, but I'm all right.
Well, on that note, thank you very much for coming on.
No bother.
Being a brilliant guest. As soon as we can, and the studio's open again, come on, and then we'll do a proper one if you can get to the top floor. We'll do a longer version and get someone else in, because we should be able to have 3 people on and somebody on the phone when we open.
Well, you can get the 3 dudes in, the 3 oldest, me, Michael and Kevin.
All 3 of you will never get upstairs. No way. It'll take us ages.
well, we'll come the day before, then you help us up. Okay, man.
All right. Yeah, thanks very much, Steve.
No bother.
You take care,
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Cheers, man.